right. It's time for the Dog and Chicken Show. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 6. Of course, jumping in last week, we kind of talked about, we wanted to cover some flat Earth, but of course, a ton of shit has happened this last week. So we'll dive into a few other things, but unfortunately, my co-host Tony, you got some stuff going on there at the house. What's going on?
I got some bad news here. As fun as the debate talk and the flat Earth stuff is, I'm unfortunately going to have to pass this over to a more qualified talking head this week. So I am, in fact, tagging out tonight.
Well, howdy, chicken. Remember me?
Howdy, Phil.
Representing the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, check us out on YouTube. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, joined this week by my indomitable broadcast partner, Chicken. So, how you doing, Chicken?
I'm great, Phil. Good to see you, buddy. Me and Phil go back on a little ways on arguing over silly stuff, politics, all kinds of stuff. Now our minds have met in the middle several times and drifted apart at other times. So this should get fun, get interesting, and be
Don't worry, Chicken. Nobody's perfect. The times you disagreed with me, we'll get there. We'll get there. So, so this is your show, good sir. Where would you like to start us off?
I'm gonna take us down Crazy Town. We're gonna start it off right off the bat. Well, either of them are Crazy Town. I guess the two topics I want to cover tonight is flat Earth and the Democratic debates. They're both crazy as hell. So where do you want to begin, sir?
I just concluded watching the Democratic debate. Now, keep in mind, you're talking to the master and, let's be frank, lead star of the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, and we talk about wrestling, and I really had a very hard time distinguishing between these debates and standard professional wrestling promos, because it was, the standard, we're gonna get this guy and we're gonna make these people pay for everything, and I'm gonna make cotton candy and happiness fall from the sky. Yeah, that's what I saw most of the night was 20 across 2 nights, 20 people cutting promos. So normally in wrestling, there's something known as the over-the-top rope battle royal. I call this the over-the-top pandering battle royal. So that's my general take on this. Who would you like to start with? Let's, first of all, there's like the Hickenloopers and stuff. They're the jobber level. They're not going anywhere. They're done. I don't really see it. Who did you think did well in that debate, sir?
I honestly feel I don't know if anybody did well. I thought there was. I'll be honest. There was multiple times where I just busted out laughing. Like it was just like, what did you say? And then the look on Cory Booker's face when which one started speaking Spanish? Yeah, Beto. And the look on his face, I lost it, man. I couldn't stop laughing. I text my wife. I was like, "This is just incredible."
Yeah, he had this weird look on his face, and in the world of wrestling, it's like, "Hey, Beto, you were ripping off Booker's gimmick. He stole his gimmick before he could even." And that that's kind of, you're stealing my thunder. Now Cory Booker, much like Rudy Giuliani, just has that weirdness factor. Like they even called it back when Rudy was running, the weirdness factor. So I just don't see Cory is running for a cabinet position. I don't see him actually running for president per se. He's just like about 15 people on that stage. They're running for brand recognition. That's why, because people eyeballs are on them. They want to be known. Like, hey, remember me? I ran for president. They're doing the Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum from a couple of years ago.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing. So I'm gonna just run through. I got a nice little about a minute and a half clip here that kind of shows a few highlights, and we'll run through this and then recap some of it. And I'm sure that'll kick off a lot more conversation than how this has already started. So without further ado, here you go, folks.
Senator Klobuchar, I want to get you. I'm fascinated by this, Senator Klobuchar.
If I could, I'm sorry.
Can we talk about the conditions and why people are coming here?
Let's Lester.
Because
Savannah,
really,
sorry, Savannah. I know. It's just we could go on.
But rather than talk about specific provisions, we really have to talk about why these people are coming to our country and what are we going to do to actually make a difference in these countries.
Congressman, you'll get your chance. Let's continue the discussion.
Let's switch to another topic now. We've got a lot to get through. Let's talk.
My
We need to talk
grandfather was
about.
actually separated from his family when he came to this country.
We're going to talk about Iran right now.
They're making our democracy work, ensuring that our values and our interests and our priorities are reflected in the laws that we pass.
Thank you, Congressman O'Rourke. Hang on. Let me give 30 seconds. Senator Klobuchar.
Yes, for a follow-up. Mayor de Blasio, you're using
In fairness, we have to actually.
Congressman Delaney, you'll have some time in a moment.
Who is cada persona en nuestra democracia?
Here it is.
Cada votante necesitamos la representación y cada voz necesitamos escuchar.
La situación ahora es inaceptable. El presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable. Voy a cambiar este.
For the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America.
Going back to what de Blasio said, as an African-American man in an African-American dominated community, I knew one of the biggest issues was criminal justice reform.
I look at these proposals and I say, does this hurt my Uncle Dick and his deer stand?
That camera.
Does this hurt Uncle Dick and his deer stand?
Yeah,
Thoughts?
that was and yeah, Corey just did have the look of, you stole my thunder. That was like, he thought that was gonna be his "do you smell what the Rock is cooking" moment. He thought that was gonna be like, mic drop, just give me the nomination now. And Beto stole his thunder in just the weakest, just like, it sounded like the worst Spanish I'd ever heard. Like, I'm sorry, it just did.
Even the black guy sounded like white guy Spanish.
Which is an achievement in and of itself. I mean, like, I'll give you that. But, yeah, this debate, like I said, it was just over-the-top pandering. The first night was ridiculous. And as much as I hate to say it, Elizabeth Warren swept that night. She did, like, I'm not talking in terms, wipe from your mind the idea of I agree with this or I disagree with that, and just look at these debates through the prism of persuasion. And you'll actually understand what the kind of gamesmanship that's happening here a little better. Elizabeth Warren was the only persuasive person on the entire first night. I don't think she did particularly. I think she would have got crushed second night. That was basically the pre-show. If you've ever watched boxing, MMA, or professional wrestling, there's always a pre-show before the pay-per-view starts, and Elizabeth Warren's night was the pre-show. The main event, on the other hand, I'm just going to go ahead and call it. I know this is a big call. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee for 2020.
Wow.
It's not even close. It
really
won't
think
even
so?
close. Biden can just drop out now if he likes. He's done.
Wow.
Yep, I know. Bold prediction. Kamala Harris. I'm not even talking about supporting or dislike of any person on the stage. Kamala Harris was the only person that was persuasive. So keep that in mind.
That's interesting. I mean, you got Kamala Harris. Of course, you got Bernie. You got Joe Biden. There's a few other interesting names in the whole bunch. So outside of who you thought who won, if you had to vote for a Democrat, like if your life depended on it, or the lives of millions of other people, because I think you might just shoot yourself in order to not vote for a Democrat. If the millions of other people had to survive in order, or for, you had to vote for a Democrat, who would it be this time around?
Ooh, I'm just gonna do the pandering, cop-out version. Say I would vote for JFK. Like, yeah, isn't that just a horrible cop-out? This time around, like I said, I'm just, because I'm not talking in terms of what do I agree with or not agree with, because, that's, the KOE Nation is such a amazing set of people that I don't want to delve into the politics of them because they are a wide array of some of the finest, most intelligent people this world has ever seen, sir. So, but I will say, Hickenlooper, as much as I kind of liked the guy, didn't do well. He's done. Stick a fork in him. He's in the class of the jobbers. Andrew Yang has his little group that really likes him. His mic got cut. Did you hear about that? His mic was actually cut during the debate, and he was trying to answer things, and they wouldn't. So, you know, I would think that the Democrats would have learned the lessons of 2016 when it was seen that they had robbed Bernie Sanders of the primary. Whether that's true or not, that was the perception. Again, that was what had persuaded people. Perception is reality. And so it was seen that Bernie Sanders had been cheated. And if they allow this same narrative, the Republicans are going to wait until Yang is far, far out of range of actually doing anything of any substance. And then he'll become the martyr for 2020. Like, oh, the Democrats cheated that poor Andrew Yang, who has no chance of winning now. But oh, that poor Andrew Yang. Bernie, his window's come and gone. He had a chance in 2016, really good chance. He's not going to become the nominee, nor will he ever be president. Sorry. Wash me in your hatred and judgment, Bernie fans. Wash me. I'm ready for it. Just.
So where Bernie screwed up is when he conceded to Hillary, even after all of that, which, yeah, you mentioned it was speculative. It's really not. It was pretty much confirmed that the DNC screwed him out of the nomination from the get-go. They were fighting to keep him out of there. They didn't want any part of Bernie Sanders because he is and was a huge pushback on the establishment and what the Democratic Party is pushing for. Now, whether if you believe in the conspiracy thoughts of how deep that Democratic Party goes into the Clinton agendas and how deep that rabbit hole goes, we can talk about that another time. But
all the way down to the interdimensional reptilians laughing at us from another side of another dimension, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you listen to the same stuff I do. No, but but the feel the burn, you know who felt the burn back 4 years ago? Bernie felt the burn, and he did nothing about it.
Yeah, he had his moment where he could have really captured lightning in a bottle in 2016. And like you said, whether you love Bernie, hate Bernie, whatever, he cannot be the nominee in 2020 because of his endorsement of Hillary Clinton, because that allows the Republicans to turn Hillary Clinton into a campaign issue all over again. Just like that. I mean, that is just a wrapped up little bow gift that Bernie would be giving to the Republicans, just free advertising. So Bernie, he had his time. He's got his supporters. I don't know what he's running for at this point. Is he just running for, look at me, I'm Bernie Sanders? Is he running for an actual, I don't think he's going for a cabinet position in the Harris administration. So I don't really know what his end goal is. Everybody else, their end goal is apparent. Bernie's the only anomaly here.
Yeah, what do you think about Mr. Pete, whatever the hell his last name is?
He was fairly persuasive on the second night, but I'm just going to say, Mr. Buttigieg, you will not be the president of the United States come January 20th, 2021. Because deciding which company is going to get the concrete laying contract for the extension of the community center is not actual job prep for the presidency. So it's nice. I mean, there's some supporters that seem to just be kind of projecting their desperate hopes onto him, but other than the fact that he's very well polished, I don't think he's going to go very far. He's going to get cornered. Do you remember how bad Chris Christie demolished Marco Rubio?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think Pete Buttigieg is going to get mauled by Kamala Harris at some point, and that'll be the end of his campaign. That will be it. He's going to have one horrible debate performance, and that'll be it. And if you're one bad debate performance away from just being out of the campaign, you're done before the race even starts.
Yeah. So going through some of the other ones, I don't disagree with you on. I do think Kamala Harris. I think you're right. I think she pulled away on that one, looking like probably the more threatening, more aggressive. When you think somebody who's going to go against Donald Trump, yeah, honestly, you want somebody that can stand their ground, and she looked like somebody that could stand her ground. Now, I seen what Joe Biden was doing. Like you said, these guys are grandstanding a little bit, and they're putting on a little bit of a show. And what Joe Biden was trying to do through the whole thing was trying to be the respectful elder and not the one arguing, which I appreciated. Don't get me wrong, because there was enough bickering and arguing and noise between all these cackling little punks on the damn stage. Anyway, but Joe Biden would be like, "Oh, my time's up." Okay, and it was awkward, but at the same time, I was like, "Hey, I don't mind it. Shut up. It's your time's up."
That moment was I disagree. That moment was almost the moment that undid his campaign. Right there. That was almost stick a fork in it. Because Harris hit him on a very real issue, something very real and divisive, and Biden's response is, "Yes, that's terrible. Conviction, personal conviction. I'm very, very I've a lot of personal." Oh, my time's up. Okay. Yeah. That was show that this was performance art on his part. So Biden, it's done. I would be shocked if he makes it to the last, even to the primaries at this point. I'd be shocked if he made it to the last primaries. He might be in the first few, but he's not going to make it all the way through.
Yeah. Prediction, yes. I agree. I don't think Biden's going to make it.
I predicted Clay Guida versus BJ Penn perfectly. This is about the same, right?
Yeah, kind of, I guess. No, I'm going to go back to Andrew Yang. I've actually listened to a lot of his stuff, and I'm not a big supporter of Andrew Yang, but the dude comes from a different thought process and a different aspect of, looking into the future of what technology is going to do, and he's absolutely right. You got AI is going to be taking over tons of jobs, and we have to adapt to that type of future. Now, the way he wants to adapt to it, I'm not sure if that's the right way. And for those that don't know, he wants $1,000 for every man, woman, or every man, woman above the age of 18 as a universal basic income. Now, there's been talks of universal basic income, maybe not always spoken that way, since like the 50s. And that was the American dream after World War II. Is eventually we're going to become such a prosperous society that nobody has to work and everybody can just live off the fruits of the land, which sounds amazing. I'm sure it was some horseshit made up by some politician and got everybody all excited. But now we're getting into the steps where this is kind of reality, and we're going to start running into some forks in the road here. Not everybody can do the few jobs that are out there. You see unemployment rates, I criticism of Trump or not, unemployment rates are super low. If you want to credit him for that, or if you want to credit Obama, it's neither of them. It's just the way the world is right now, to where there are less jobs. There are more people, and most of these jobs are non-physical anymore because they're being replaced by, whether it be machinery, AI. It's crazy to think, but it's gonna happen. Less and less jobs are gonna be available, and that unemployment rate, no matter who's president, is gonna continue to dive unless the economy totally just goes down the toilet. But it's gonna continue to go down. So how do you adapt to that in the future? Andrew Yang's actually got an argument to that. Nobody else even brought that up. Now, so I'll credit him for being a forward thinker, because he'll probably have the right mindset to take us into the next thought process of how that looks in 10, 20 years from now. But nobody else is thinking that way. They all just want to keep saying the sky is falling, the climate's terrible, we're terrible to immigrants, we're terrible about this, we're terrible about that. You just name off this laundry list of everything we suck at, and he's saying, hey, we're good at AI, we're good at these things, and our economy's really good. How do we maintain that and take care of the people here in our country in the meantime? What do you think about that?
like I said, for the very limited time he got, like, he was very persuasive. I will say my criticisms of Andrew Yang are the $1,000 a month thing. Like, I thought blatant vote buying was illegal in the United States. I thought that was
right.
Hey, vote for me! I'll give you $1,000 a month. Come on.
Hey, but to be fair, the others are doing the same thing. So now
this is just more bald faced. Bernie's also pretty.
I thought
when he said, "Yes, I am going to raise your taxes, but in the end, it'll all be like a wash, and it'll all come back to you, right?" Totally.
What about reparations for gay marriage? Isn't that buying votes?
I don't even know who that, like, reparations. Oh man, the things you end up having to talk about when you get into politics. But getting back to Yang, the other thing I wanted to mention before we get off on him is, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it: A/B testing is not a good way to formulate policy. It's a great way to make a persuasive argument. It's great, but everything he has done is A/B tested, and really, at what point do you have to ask how much of this is your honest thought and how much of it is you using carefully chosen language in order to manipulate us? So that's my overarching criticism of Andrew Yang. I just think he's got some interesting ideas, but the A/B testing of every single idea and word he says can only get you to a point. There has to be a little bit of soul in there somewhere. So that's my take on him, sir.
No, I agree. The soul. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned soul. I think that's what was missing from 20 candidates.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, Bernie straight up said, "I'm going to raise your taxes." That's it. He said that on the stage. That's why he's done. He's just like, sorry, there's swaths of America. You say that too. That's it. Just throw them out. So I'm sticking with my prediction. Also, God, on the second night, the woman that was on the far left end of the stage, I forget her name. She was absolutely 1,000 miles out of her goddamn mind. I don't even know how she got on there. She's like, "Donald Trump, you are targeting the American people with hate, but I will target them with love." And I'm like, how did you get on the stage? How much money ddid you pay? Like, are you just like an advertiser, basically, and they just let you on the stage? They're like, well, gee, she paid so much money, just let her babble for a few minutes. Because I didn't get her at all. So
she did that whole, we can all have all these amazing plans, but plans aren't going to beat Donald Trump. No, you're right, and you won't either. Like,
nope,
she was batty, man. You're right. I don't know how she got up there. She seemed like a drunken grandma.
Yeah, and again, I'm just thinking maybe she's like one of the people that like owns, NBC or something. So like, no, just let me on the stage, just talk for a few minutes.
Dear God, I'm gonna play one thing here. So I got a little bit of video and audio here of a question old Burns got.
Burn?
The burn.
That Trump is a phony, that Trump is a pathological liar and a racist. And
thoughts?
Just going for the nastiest smears that you can possibly use in American politics today, just going full-fledged. Again, remove it from the truth factor, whatever you think of whether that's true or not. Was it persuasive to the key audience they were trying to persuade?
It was pandering, and it's identity politics is what it was.
Yes. I mean, you're absolutely right, and those are some pretty heavy charges to lob against any man. I mean, I know there's people that are gonna be like, how could you say, you should really have some very definitive proof when you're gonna lobby any kind of, like, especially like a racist charge against another person. That's
a big deal, here's my problem with it. And for the folks that don't know, I've said this a few times. I am not a huge Trump supporter. I am not a big Democrat supporter. I am disgusted with everybody in the political field, honestly. Trump's done good things, he's done bad things, as all of them have. Every one. Pick one. Name a name. And I can argue good and bad on why we should have kicked him out or why we should have kept him in. They're all going to suck and they're all going to do good in different ways. So, that being said, the fact that somebody can feel comfortable on national television to call your president a racist, that is bold. Now, today's world, you got Antifa, you got all kinds of crazy stuff going on out there. This world today is just so emboldened to, where's the limit? When's this going to stop? Because it just seems every 4 to 8 years, we are just unleashing heavier fury and heavier masses of hysteria. It's got to hit a wall eventually. When's this end? And like, stop it. He might be a racist. I don't know. But you don't call the president a racist on national TV when you're running for president. It's just like, what the hell are you doing?
It's the ultimate of pandering, as you said. He's trying to instill fear in his audience. And getting back to the wrestling equation, which is what Bernie's doing. He's always, never forget, he is cutting a promo. Just like they do in wrestling when The Rock goes, and let me tell you something, this weekend, Triple H, you're the worst guy that there ever was. You don't wash your socks often enough, and The Rock's going to take your title. That's what Bernie was doing. He was like, Donald Trump, you're the worst person there ever was, and this election, I'm going to take the Oval Office if you smell what the bird is cooking. That's what he's doing. Trying to, yes. It's all promo work, and he's trying to establish Donald Trump as the heel. Heels are the bad guys, and it's like, yep, he's the worst person there ever was. Did you know that he started the Chicago fire? He tempted Adam with forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. I mean, they're gonna go like that's if you're wondering where it's gonna go, it's going to start to get to. There's another commentator that I really like, and his name's Scott Adams. He's the maker of the Dilbert cartoons, and he talks about that we are living in a world where everybody is watching two different movies on the same screen. We are now getting to a point of divergent realities where the left and the right now, alternative facts is now a thing. We have two divergent, equal and opposite realities in the same society, in the same country, and there is no context for that happening in the West. I've never seen.
The fun part is neither of them can exist without each other, though.
It is kind of this weird symbiotic hate. Like, I don't know. Like I said, there is no context for this at any other previous point in any other Western civilization. So you're asking, where does this go? Unfortunately, we both know it's going to get much, much worse before it ever even thinks about getting any better. I think it's sad, but I think the political tribalism is only going to get worse. And there's another commentator, I forget his name, he mentioned the idea of, in America, we are entering into what's called the Cold Civil War. And I know that's it sounds like a very lurid, very
that's a little doom and gloom, isn't it?
Yes. But think about like the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. Remember that?
Yep.
That was, I remember one commentator relating that to like the Korean War of the Cold Civil War. It was vicious, it was dirty, and it was the culture war on full display for all to see on national television. And the same commentator, God, I wish I could remember his name, he said, the Ginsburg replacements, that will be the Vietnam War of the Cold Civil War here in this country. When Ginsburg finally retires, or however her seat is cleared. I hope she lives a very long, full, happy life, but nobody gets out of this thing alive. So that is where I see it going, unfortunately, Chicken, is I think the political rhetoric is going to get a lot worse over the next decade before it ever even kind of makes a hint of getting better. You're going to hear every president and every politician be accused of every horrible atrocity mankind has ever conceived of. Get ready for it.
it's depressing, but you're pretty spot on there.
Yep. Get ready for the best among us to be accused of the worst depravities you could imagine. That's going to be, because we're now in an accusation era where just the accusation, because of the viral nature, look. Hi, how you doing? Because of the viral nature of this world, things go like a brush fire. So, unfortunately, I don't see it getting any better. I see we're going to look back on these days in politics like, man, you remember the good old days of Trump back when just a few little insults was all that you just lob against each other? And occasionally people would try to ruin each other's lives. That's going to be the...
Just occasionally.
That's going to be the entree. That's going to be the main course going forward. I know that's depressing, but it's just my intelligence guided by experience, looking at history versus how I think the future might go. So, on that depressing note, how do you grade the debates?
I don't know about the debates. They were all a joke, and we've said it multiple times. It was all pandering. It was just, hey, look at me, I'm virtue signaling, and you know what? They talked about issues. They did. But none of them, I'm telling you, everything they talked about, minus probably global warming / climate change, most of those are not going to come up on the main stage when it comes to them versus Trump. None of them will. It was all a bunch of bogus crap. Maybe that and minimum wage. Because honestly, minimum wage is kind of, it's past due. That probably does need to go up. But outside of those two, I really don't see any of the other conversations growing legs and taking it to the main stage.
And yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, climate will come up once or twice. They might touch on some of the fringe culture war issues a little bit that they did here, but it's going to be economy, foreign policy.
Right. And they did talk a little foreign policy, so to be fair on there, they did talk about Iran and definitely war. The one we didn't talk about, and I'm curious on your take with what was her name from Hawaii, is that Tulsi Gabbard. What do you think about her?
Chicken. Did you know that she was in the military?
I had no idea until the other night.
Until she mentioned it like 6,540. Hang on, let me check my notes. Yes, 47 times. Yes. She is the, hi, I'm a Democrat and the military candidate. She's a very strong vice presidential candidate. Unfortunately, she's from deep, deep blue Hawaii, so she'll be rumored to be the vice president for a little while until Kamala Harris eventually picks Tim Kaine.
Yeah, God, not Tim Kaine. No.
It's Virginia. They need Virginia. Like it or not, get ready for a string of Democratic vice presidential candidates from Virginia. Sorry. They might try to sneak a Texas one in there, which is why Beto's doing his thing.
Yeah, of course.
And Castro, same thing with him. It's like, hey, look at me. I'm a pretty good vice president. I'm from Texas.
All right, I say we start wrapping up the political conversation a little bit. Any last thoughts before? I'm going to give you one last rundown of candidates here, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to ask you with them. So any thoughts before I do an ending run through of these folks?
Hit me with them.
All right. What would they be better at? President or a pro wrestler? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, he is an elder statesman. I'll give him that. He would be a better general manager or an authority figure coming like the old Jack Tunney from the old WWF days. He'd be perfect for that.
Fantastic. I remember Jack Tunney. How about Bernie? What's Bernie's position?
Bernie is the old grizzled veteran telling you how it used to be in the old territory days. And let me tell you something. Oh, thinking you gotta stretch your neck a little bit before you take a dragon suplex on concrete. You kids don't even know what a bump is nowadays. So yeah, that would be Bernie, the old Terry Funk veteran that just won't hang it up even though he should. So that's how I see him in the world of wrestling.
That was perfect. That's exactly what I seen too. That was unrehearsed, ladies and gentlemen. That was perfect. That's what I imagined would happen. How about Pete Buttigieg?
205 Live. Sorry, man. Your cruiserweight, your pre-show. He can occasionally cut a good promo, so they'll put the mic in his hand. But, that was the same with Enzo Amore. So he would be a decent pro wrestler that would have a mention in the history books. But I don't think we're not talking Pete Buttigieg WWE champion here anytime soon. No.
How about Elizabeth Warren?
Elizabeth Warren, she would have a good Alundra Blaze, I was a women's wrestler before women's wrestling was cool. She'd have that kind of.
Do we have to though? Can she just be a politician? Does she have to be there?
I mean, she wouldn't do well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, her promo work, if she's got the scripted promo in front of her, she'll do good. But shooting off the cuff. But yeah, I just shuddered. I don't want to say, oh yeah, president, just give them. They wouldn't be a good pro wrestler. So make a president. Now, granted, one of the reasons pro wrestling's ratings are down so bad right now, and I'm convinced of this, Donald Trump puts on a better wrestling show than wrestling right now. Think about it.
You're absolutely right. He does.
Jazzes up the crowd. Hey, how are we all doing? We great. We excited to be here. Yeah! Look at the media back there. The heels here. Boo them. Boo! Now, what can you do for me? Vote for me in November. Yeah! He is a master of crowd psychology. He does it.
You just got to give him. You just got to give him a 2x4 and have him come out there going, yeah!
Yes, I mean, but you'd have to have some kind of heel that he could defeat with it. And he just using his words look at those cameras back there, such deceptive media, so terrible, so terrible. Look at them.
I just named 4 heels for you, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're doing all the heel work for him, and this will be the last I say about Trump on this. Go back and watch The Rock's promos around 2001. When he was a heel that the crowd was turning to a face. Those are the same promos Trump cut in 2016. A heel the crowd is turning into a face promos. So some people think I'm crazy on this, but no. Go back and watch it, and you'll hate me when you see it. So just replace, if you smell what The Rock is cooking with, and we will make America great again. It's pretty much
it's the same. It is. Now that you say it, I have these images in my head. I'm like, holy shit, he's right.
I apologize, sir. Now, moving on down this line, let's see how the rest of these fit in as the wrestlers.
So instead of just listing off the rest of the names, I'm going to put 2 interesting matchups in front of you. Okay? I already know who'd probably win this one, but I'm just curious how you think it would go. Beto versus Cory Booker. You know Booker's pissed. He's got to get this
Booker's
out.
Pissed, but I think Beto would get it in the sneaky roll-up schoolboy pin, and then Booker's like, oh, I lost, and Beto's rolling out of the ring. So that's how I see that match going, like an old classic schoolboy screw job. Jim Ross, he's got the handful of times. The handful of times. Yes, that's how I see that.
Beautiful. How about Biden versus Sanders?
Whoever, basically that's a painkillers on a pole match, because they're gonna have somebody oh, my shoulder, oh, my back, my head, oh God. Whoever could get up to the painkillers on the pole from the fact that they had to take any wrestling moves. So that's how I see that one going. In the end, even if Bernie was about to ascend and grab the painkillers, somehow the DNC would come out, whack him in the back with a steel chair, screw him over, and then Biden would just, what do you know? My win. Guess we screw you over again, Bernie. Totally.
Totally. That's that
classic ladder match screw job. That's how I see that one going.
It's just a bunch of old cripples trying to smack each other.
That was Super Showdown a few weeks.
I didn't even watch it. I just heard it from Tony, and I just heard how terrible it was. So I
there was some high points and low points, but moving on. My next matchups.
All right, the final matchup, and we'll round this out on the political talks. Oh God, how do I want to line this up? Let's do Warren versus Harris.
Harris, and it's not even close. It'd be a 2-minute squash match. The entrances would take longer than the actual match.
Well, hold on. Do you think Warren would come out in some kind of feather headgear?
You know, she has, according to DNA tests, she is 1,024th Native American.
So that's what, 0.008% Native American? Is that correct?
Also 1,024th of a chance of actually becoming president.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's my take on that.
It's math, folks.
Like, have you ever seen that? It's actually, I hate to admit, it's a fairly good show. Our Cartoon President.
No, I haven't.
Actually writes it, and so I thought it was gonna be pretty bad, but there's parts of it that's pretty good. It talks about Elizabeth Warren. It's like, I was the front runner in the polls, and then I told one weird lie like 1,000 times, and now no one will look me in the eye. What happened? So that's.
It wasn't just one weird lie. You wrote it on applications.
Like 1,000 times, though.
You got accepted into colleges and got jobs because you claimed you're something you're not.
That's going to come back and bite her in a national election. Massachusetts.
She can't win. She can't win because of that. It's over.
Really, the fact that she also, she's a plagiarist. She plagiarized some recipes in a cookbook and actually profited off that. So that, her goose is cooked. She is running for recognition. I would be shocked if she actually won the nomination, but I am going to say I don't see any possibility of the Democratic nominee being male this time around. There's no way. Zero possibility.
Interesting take.
Sorry, look at the politics that appeal to the party right now. And that the idea, like when Harris said, and as president, the first thing she will do, whole crowd pops. Rah! A crowd pop, if you don't know, is when the crowd goes wild when you say something. And that got a big
And what she said wasn't even that fascinating. So, yeah, you're right.
It's that. So there's zero chance the nominee in 2020 is, I'm not, forget the politics. If you were betting this on a line in Vegas, that would be my, now, not to be construed as actual betting advice, but I would just, that would be my personal thoughts there, is there's no way any male candidate will make it. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, between Warren and Harris takes it. She's more persuasive. She's got, better thought out policies. Warren is an academic, and it's kind of like, Bernie Sanders, like, and then on the top 1% with the 3%, they'll have a 2% tax, which will realize a 2% rebate, but those not tracking it. Let me talk. Like, she gets too lost into the policy weeds. Harris is too good of a persuader. I mean,
she makes it personal. That's what she does. She flips it around and makes it like, I saw her do that, when she was like, hey, I'm that little girl, like, and that's the big, quote and meme out of this whole thing. But that's what she's good at. She's good at connecting with anybody. Now, I'm not that little kid. I'm not that little girl. But when she said that, I could see there was emotion behind it. And, like, she had a little, if anybody had soul out of the 20, she probably had a little soul going in, coming out of that of, I think she had some personal reflection and probably said things she actually meant and wasn't just trying to be a face on TV and trying to be just a candidate. She might actually put a little bit of thought and a little of her heart and a little of her mind into it. So, yeah, I guess I'd probably agree with you. When I watched both of them, I thought most of them were just a bunch of commies and it wasn't going anywhere. But I don't agree with her on a lot of stuff. But you know what? Like, hey, if I'm gonna have to deal with somebody, I'd rather deal with somebody that believes in what they're talking about. So sure, give it to her.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not even saying agree, disagree. I'm just telling you, folks at home, get ready for it. These will be the campaign posters. It'll be Trump versus Harris. That's going to be the election. I'm staking my powers of political and pro wrestling clairvoyance on it right now.
No, you're right. And when you think of the narrative that they want to paint on Trump as being a racist and being a sexist and being homophobic, like that's the only thing they're missing is the homophobic piece. But I'm sure he'll screw that up on his own because he's got a loud mouth.
In relation to that depressing topic we were on a little earlier, just also for prediction's sake, every Republican candidate from here on for at least the next 20 years, doesn't matter how nice of a guy you are, get ready. You will be labeled as racist, sexist, homophobic. It doesn't matter. All the ists and isms that you could possibly be labeled as, you will be, because it's been a strategy that's been shown to be successful in the past, and past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, so every Republican candidate, like Trump, the reason he was able to overcome it is just because he just like, I don't care. Go ahead, land me whatever you want. I really don't care. It doesn't really matter. I've been called everything. I'm a New Yorker. So, I mean, Republican candidates, get ready for that. Democrat candidates, they have to appeal to a very specific set of
trigger words.
Yes, yeah, and like I've said, on the political left, there's a problem that's arisen in the last 8 years or 10 years. Everybody will have their own measure of time, but within the fairly recent history of, for those on the far left, everyone has to be held to what I call a platonic standard of perfection. And from the moment you deviate from this platonic, unattainable standard of perfection, that becomes the club in which the rest of society can be used to beat you out of public life. And we've been seeing that a lot in the last few years. I mean, you just had an episode about censorship online, and it kind of ties in with that idea of, these are the people that are not holding to our perfect platonic idea of what a perfect human should be. So away from you, you're out of the public life. And, these people don't just go away. And so that's,
man, it's been a long time, Phil, but
what a wonderful world.
Right? I never thought when I was like 17, 18, I'd be like, man, I agree with Phil on a lot of shit.
Well, chicken, it takes a while to come around, but, and now the other like 30-40% that you don't agree with me on, don't worry, I'll get there too. I'll get there, sir. In due time. In due time.
In due time. In
You
due
will
time,
achieve
indeed.
true extremeness.
All right. Are you
moving on, now that depressing nonsense that is American politics.
Oh, I know. It is depressing. So
to our international viewers, I'm sorry. This is what daily life is like here. We talk about this stuff a lot.
All 13 subscribers, I bet none are international. But yeah. All right. Like, share, subscribe, folks. If you've made it this far. I think our average viewer experience, I think we have, I got a good track record. I had 1 week where the 5 people that watched in one day all watched for an average of 13 minutes. So I was loving that. And now I'm down to like 5 minutes. But whatever. Hey, 5 minutes is 5
Revolutionary
minutes.
Wrestling Podcast. I just try to make the best I can every episode. And, the people just gravitate to this gorgeous mug. I mean, what can I say? So, I mean, I'm
for sure.
I'm lending this beautiful mug for your podcast this evening. Like, share, subscribe, folks. That's all you got to do to keep up with all the happenings of the Dog and Chicken Show, especially the extreme editions. So, moving on to this next batch of craziness.
Now we're going to have a little fun. Time to put on your tinfoil hats. Let's talk about something so amazing and mind-blowing that I researched a whopping 4 hours and could not find anything that convinced me that this is actually true. So, without further ado, Phil, what are your thoughts on flat Earth?
I think it's turtle all the way down, obviously. Clearly. I forget what tale that's from, but somebody asks a fairly like religiously fanatic woman, or just like I think she was maybe just hysteric. It's like she says the world sits on top of an elephant, and then they go, yeah, just to get quickly down to it, it's like, and that elephant and everything else sits on top of a turtle. And the guy goes, well, what does the turtle sit on? And she goes, no. It's turtle all the way down. And to me, that's kind of the flat earth theory. It's great trolling of scientists. Like, if you're into trolling, it is some of the best trolling I've ever seen, because it's one of those, you go to like even these top level scientists and be like, well, how can you even prove the earth is round? And then you got like the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world go like, and so it's perfect. It's a great exercise in trolling, but in terms of truth factor, no. I am engaged in a lot of activities. My family, a lot of folks in my family are pilots, so the idea that there's no curvature to the earth is absurd.
Oh, but there is. So, folks, if you don't know what the flat earth would look like, look at this magnificent picture.
Oh, well, there, I'm convinced. There you go.
It makes total sense. It makes total sense.
Parts that it doesn't.
Yes, and that's what we're going to talk about, the parts that it doesn't. So, I will apologize on the last week's video. I think I called everybody who believes in this flat earth dummies. I will pull back and not call you dummies, but rather I'll try to convince you that some of your thoughts you might need to research a little bit more, because there's a lot of holes in this. I don't even want to dig into all the holes in this, because that would take forever, as the Flat Earth Society's homepage is littered with pseudoscience, and then they call real science pseudoscience. So it's just an argument back and forth. I want to go through. It is a troll, it's a troll that millions of people actually believe.
Which, bravo to the troll that started that, by the way. If you were able to convince people that, I mean, because I'm sorry, there's all kinds of preponderance of data to suggest that the Earth is round, even without having to actually go out in space and see it. Just pilots having to take into account the curvature of the Earth and their flight patterns. Long-distance shooters have to account for the curvature of the Earth in their calculations in order to actually hit the target. There's the ancient Greek experimentation of putting poles in different points of the Earth and seeing how the sunlight reflect. Like, there's so many different ways that the curvature of the Earth has been established, that I have to kind of compliment the flat earthers in their ability to troll the scientific community so successfully.
That's the problem, though, Phil, is that we know it's a troll. Most people believe that it probably is a troll, but then there's a huge group of folks out there that, I don't want to call them dummies, I don't want to go down that road.
I'll call them gullible.
Yeah, gullible's probably a more
wash me in your judgment, flat earthers. Bring it.
So, and I contribute it, and like I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate, or maybe sympathize a little bit. Sometimes you hear something just so amazing, and I've been guilty of wanting to believe a different narrative than what the world wants to believe, whether that's and I still get into some of these, whether it's a JFK assassination, or maybe it's George Bush's conspiracy theories on 9/11, or the Gulf of Tonkin, which is proven. Like, some are real and some are totally bogus. So, like, all right, I get it. It's sometimes you fall into these traps, and it's okay to fall into these traps, but then you have to do your homework, and you have to look this stuff up so you don't look like a total idiot when you're talking to somebody. Or, here's the worst part, is I've watched, Phil, you're going to be ashamed of me. I've watched so much YouTube this week on flat earthers that I'm probably God, here I go. I'm gonna say those again. I'm a little dumber right now for it. I'm dumber for it. Just gonna be honest.
Well, now here's. Oh, go ahead, sir.
No, I was just gonna say I'm dumber for it, and I get it. I get why people are attracted to this. It's a different mindset. It's a different thought process, and it's different from the narrative. But at the end of the day, so I want to argue the JFK theory. I want to argue a 9/11 theory because I see people benefiting from things like this, and I could see how it could play out. I have no way in hell of figuring out who benefits from us believing the world is round versus flat. Who benefits? I don't get it.
The thing that, in a different way, I was going to address that is, what is the real, like, let's just, for the sake of argument here, as a thought experiment, I do not grant this, but just as a thought experiment, let's grant the flat earthers every possibility. Let's say that perhaps there is a possibility that the earth is flat. In what way does your life alter due to this new analysis?
None.
And that is usually one of the first signs that there's a hoax or something up here. If somebody's trying to sell you on this completely different view of the world, but adopting it will actually not change your life in any substantive way. Some people just like to have mental control over others, over things like that. So even if you grant them everything, it doesn't really change. Now, for some of the people that do believe in it, you have to have some sympathy, okay? You have to understand that, like when you were bringing up like JFK and 9/11 and all these other things, big events that have conspiracy theories wrapped around them, where the mind cannot comprehend an event, it will invent a conspiracy theory.
Absolutely.
I just can't even understand why people would fly planes into a building. I can't understand it, so obviously it has to be a conspiracy. I can't understand why some crazy dude would shoot the president. It has to be a wider conspiracy. I can't, and I think it's a much more complicated version of that for the people who actually believe flat Earth, is that for some reason they can't quite comprehend it all. Well, the world looks flat, so maybe it's a conspiracy. We live out in the Great Plains. You get up high enough, you can almost see the curvature of the Earth. So it's, oh my God.
We're not gonna go down that rabbit hole, Phil. So for those that don't believe this is real, this is a real conspiracy. So I just Googled flat Earth on Google and just looked at images, and of course we have maps. We have a donut. We have a flat Earth donut. Apparently. Anyway, so
nice.
Yes. And this continues on. There's tons of goodies on here. Here's the official flat Earth model of what they believe. So North Pole is the center of not only our planet, but the universe. Okay, and we're surrounded by Antarctica, which is a huge ice wall which keeps the water from falling out.
Okay.
We are a bowl which has a lifted center, which that explains why we have texture on our planet. Okay, I'll give you a second, Phil. You have at it.
Oh my God! So, I thought this might have had a chance of this being anything other than a troll, up until the point where you said, not only is the North Pole the center of our Earth, it's also the center of our universe. Like, okay. Yeah, this is BS. But I have to compliment. This is one of the greatest scientific troll jobs I think I've ever seen in my life. So, hats off to you, you flat earther trolls. You beautiful bastards. You pulled it off.
Beautiful bastards. You pulled it off. So that'll bring me probably to my next. So I'm just gonna throw out some arguments here, and we're just gonna shut this. We're gonna shut this bitch down really fast. I don't think there's a lot of need for debate on here. And for those of you that are flat earthers and afraid to admit it, call me, text me. I will not out you. I will not fight with you. You can comment down below if you're not afraid to be public about it. Otherwise, shoot me a text. Most of you guys know who I am. Or have me on Facebook or whatever, or just message our group on here privately. I don't care. I will talk with you one-on-one, and you tell me your arguments. I will do the research for you, and I will help you live a better life, not thinking the world is flat. If you can prove to me that the world is flat, kudos to you, and I will get this gentleman on the other side of the screen to believe it as well, and that will make an awesome, epic episode.
You know, all they would need is the one thing that all flat earth theory proponents have yet to have. It's just one thing. You know what that is?
Proof.
Objective evidence. Yes, objective, measurable, definable evidence. You know, that stuff that makes the scientific method kind of go round, that kind of stuff. You know, standard of falsifiability and repeatability and a way to measure. So any of those would be helpful, flat earthers. So please, please, let us have it. But, oh, wait, what's that? Oh, crickets, yeah.
Crickets, yes.
Not going to get that.
Okay, so I'm going to go through, I'm just going to go through two things that, to me, just shut this whole thing down from the start. So, how, if the world is flat, how can you explain seasons? Well, I found a fun little video of how flat earthers try to explain seasons. Now,
oh my God.
You have no idea, sir. You have no idea.
This is making my day.
Good. I'm glad I can make your day, Phil.
I mean, this is like, you know, that creepypasta that they have on the internet, or like alternate histories and stuff like that.
Right. Creepypasta. Yeah, we talked about that last week. Okay, so here we go. So you can see the rotation of not only the sun, but the moon. Now, the moon rotates slightly at a slower pace, so eventually it does catch up. Now, here's some of the details. I'm going to pause this video so we can... I'm going to try to pause it. Anyway, so some of the details on this. Now, flat earthers believe not only does the sun move in that circle on the outer edge like you see there,
making night impossible.
Right, but if we speed this video up, you see where it's on the outer edge? Then we scoot it down. Now it's on the inner. That explains summer, because now it's closer to the top. And now we're going to scoot it forward. Now we're in winter, because the sun's towards the bottom. Okay? So, now, okay. Hold on, Hold on, Phil. I know, this is probably a little painful for you. We're going to...
I mean, just playing with a flashlight can disprove that.
So, here I get another image pulled up to where most of the time they believe that the sun and the moon are on opposite sides. Now, in the previous video, you could see where they do match up on occasion. This explains for part of the earth being light and part of the earth not being light. But even every flat earther out there that has half a brain could admit that half of the world has light while the other half does not. And that is explained when you are a sphere. This model shows that maybe a third to a quarter, somewhere in that ballpark, is covered with light and sunlight. The only way that this works, the only way the flat earth model works is if the sun is like, it was something crazy. It's like 1,000 miles away from the earth. Stop. The sun, 1,000 miles away from our planet. Okay? Think about that. Let's think about this big, huge ball of plasma, lava, whatever it is, crazy amounts of heat that you can feel when you go outside. You can put your hand up or on your face and you're like, man, that's pretty hot, and that thing's a long ways away. If it's only 1,000 miles away, how come it's cold on top of mountains?
It's almost like it's a little further away or something. I don't know. Chicken,
maybe we're on a round ball surrounded by an atmosphere in the vacuum of space.
you know, that if we're just going to use Occam's razor here, just cut away all the bullshit, then yeah, that does seem a little more likely, don't it? Yeah, it's just, I get it. It's one of those, it's not immediately obvious, but there's a lot of things in life that aren't immediately obvious. Like the earth is being round. Like when you're a little kid, it's like you have to have good nutrition and exercise. These are things that aren't immediately obvious, but you still have to do.
But they make sense.
Yes. So, jeez, the flat. Like when you showed me that page, I'm like, oh my god, it's real. Like,
It is so real.
It would still have to have a large, I don't know what you'd call it, bump or giant earth hill in the middle for the sun to go around. So even then, at that point, when you get to, well, what about night and day flat earthers? Well, there's not like totally flat. There's still a little, oh, okay, here we go. So that's, yeah, this is one of those, it's a great troll. They're doing everything they can to try and maintain it. And unfortunately, along the way, they found a couple of true believers.
Well, and you're absolutely right on the night and day theory. So I could show images on that too, and whatever. It's painful. It's painful, Phil. It's painful for me to know that there's people out there hurting like this.
Well, it's like, I'm just thinking of like my great-great-grandfather who, he was on a little farm a couple of miles north of here, had no electricity. And I'm just trying to imagine him like thinking like, what's the future going to be like 100 years from now? And then it shoots down like, well, okay.
We're going to go back 2,000 years in time and think the world is flat.
Like, yeah, we went 100 years in the future. Now there's morons who think the earth is flat all over again. Sorry, great-grandpa. We didn't progress as much as you thought we would. So, it's just kind of funny. I'm thinking back like, yeah, even like folks 100 years ago knew the earth was round, but now we got idiots that have figured out, well, not idiots, I'm sorry, gullible folk. That's better. That's better. Gullible folk who really either believe this or A+ master class trolls. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, as a guy who does get a snicker from an occasional troll job when they see a good one done on the internet, this one is like, I don't think there'll ever be a better troll job.
So the seasons was my first argument. Which the only way their model works with that crazy sun rotation and it's flat and it like slowly. So first off, before I move on, now picture back to that circle of the flat Earth and the way the sun was moving on the outside when it's winter, and then it moves inward during the summer. Don't you think it would spin faster in the middle? Like just the diameter of it, like. When you get outside, it's bigger. You're moving at the same speed. The sun moves at the same speed. So when you get in the inside, you got to go faster. So wouldn't your days speed up? Like the logic's not there for me. It's still moving at the same rate of speed. So then all of a sudden the sun has to slow down to counteract with our days and how it spins. It makes no sense to me.
I mean, sure, chicken, if you want to just like inject like logic and facts into the equation, sure, it might disprove the flat earth theory, but God, man, I mean, let them have their delusions.
Yes, how dare I? And for all this to work or not work, whatever side you believe, whatever, I don't care. In order for any of this to go, you can't believe in space and you can't believe in gravity. They're both made up pretty much.
What is the flat, like, why am I even asking? What is the flat earth explanation of gravity? I have to know now.
Okay. You are on a flat plane, and this flat plane has a bubble on it.
Yeah.
And this flat plane with a bubble on it that has projected lights on it that we think are stars, whatever. It is shooting upward at the rate of 9.8 meters a second, which explains mathematically the feeling of gravity. Yes.
We're shooting upward.
Upward, but we don't know in what.
how exactly?
We're just going up.
Is like, how much further do we... because it's turned all the way down. Oh my God. So at what point do they finally say, it's like, so what's making us go up? All right. We didn't want to reveal this, guys, but all right.
So they go into such depth on this, because like my first thought was like, so does it just go upwards forever then? Like, what's infinity? And then they had this whole mathematical explanation of how infinity ties in with human perception. And then they go on perception, and it is just a big scam. Like none of it made sense. Every computation they make and explanation they make leads to another one that doesn't make sense, that leads to another one that doesn't quite make sense. And it kind of makes sense, but then you're like, nah, I don't know about that. I need to look into this. And then everything you look into just, it goes down in this little snake of a hole that you never get to the bottom of. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that one leads me back to the sun is flat. And then you have to start all over and do all this crap again. It is stupid.
Tying back to one of your previous episodes where you're talking about the elevator game, a creepypasta. What makes it creepy and slightly believable is the complexity of the creepypasta, is the complexity of the story. So it makes it almost like, gosh, is this something real a little bit? And so I think the same thing is happening with this flat earth. There's such deep complexity into the BS that's being put forward that it does catch people. I mean, pseudoscientific language catches a lot of people every day. Think of every fad diet that's happened in the last 30 years. So this is the latest mental junk food that's hit the market.
Yeah, for sure. So the last one I have to kind of throw a hole in this, I'm going to take my tinfoil hat here. I'm going to roll it into a ball, okay? Just for my sake. Now, imagine this little ball is the planet. I live on this side. Phil lives on this side. Okay? Guess what? Phil sees stars over here that I can't see. I see stars over here that Phil can't see. Until it spins. Whoa. Now, that's been the flat earth thought is, why do I see the same stars in this hemisphere and the other hemisphere? Well, it probably took you 12 hours to get to the other hemisphere first off.
And you don't exactly. There's different constellations for
it's
winter.
Different constellations. They're in different positions. They're not always the same. And you see different things at different times of the year because you're spinning on an axis around the sun. No, just go, Phil.
The gravity thing, I figured it out. I figured it out for you flat earthers. I got it, okay? Yes, the disk is always going up, but that's because it's being pulled by the tractor beam of laughing at us on the other side of reality in another dimension. So they're tractor beaming us up. I've solved it all. You're welcome, flat earthers. That's makes about as much sense as the rest of it, and it ties the whole thing. Just when in doubt, blame the reptilians.
Blame the reptilians. I like that.
Mic drop on flat earth.
Speaking, yeah. Here you go. Here's my thoughts on flat earth. Gravity. It's real, damn it. We're not moving upwards 9.8 meters a second. What kind of horse shit is that?
Next time I'm in the tractor just thinking, I'm going to be laughing about this for a good long time. I'm sorry. There's just... I'm a farming man, and, sometimes in the tractor you got some time to think, and I'm going to be getting a good chuckle out of this.
So again, flat earthers, I apologize. I may seem like I may come off like I'm a little annoyed with it, but that's only because I've wasted too many hours of my life this week watching something that, and I will be honest, I didn't believe it going into it, and I didn't get convinced going into it, and I probably kind of had a little preconceived thoughts of, yeah, this is total crap. But I had an open mind, and nothing, absolutely nothing changed my mind. There's nothing out there. There's nothing out there that convinced me of anything even remotely close to a flat earth. other than the government has conspiracies. Duh. We all know
like
that.
I said in our previous topic, you found nothing persuasive. The human mind is able to be persuaded if you have something with enough logical content. So there just wasn't enough there. It's a great conspiracy theory. When you're saying, I'm sorry to flat earth people, I'm not at all. I am sorry. If you honestly believe it, I am sorry you're such a gullible moron. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're gullible. I'm sorry that you bought into this. I apologize. I am so sorry. If you are a troll that started this, I'm sorry that your little side project got away from you pretty heavy. And now it's all around the world and there's people all over the planet. Like, yeah, you want to talk about like when an artist releases a song, it's like, wow, how did this one get away from me so fast? Whoever started the flat earth troll, this one got away from you. So congrats on that one, I think. And it is fun to watch. It is fun to watch them troll like professional scientists. That's funny. It's like when they come like, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mauricio Kaku, how can you prove the Earth is round? Prove to me right now, right here. And they're like, but so that's funny, but it has no truth value. So
it gets painful.
That being said, that's the tagline. Chicken, it's on you, sir.
I think we wrapped this up with a couple of quick thoughts. Me and Tony been we kind of wrapped these up with hot topics, what's in the news, and some fun things going on. So, what are your thoughts on the possibility of Bieber Cruz?
Tony and I have a video coming out on this about the Justin Bieber Tom Cruise potential fight. Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast. Check it out for all the happenings of the MMA roundup as well. I don't think it's going to happen. Ultimately, I think Bieber's going to be the one to pull out. Cruz came back strong, like, no, let's do it. Come on, punk, bring it. And I was like, yes, that's my last samurai. All right. Honestly, if the fight did go down, Cruz first round wouldn't even be close. I know it's all movie stuff, but Cruz has had several years of actual training in at least stage martial arts, so he'll have at least an idea of how to move with violence and conviction. Justin Bieber has been rich since he was like 12 and has had other people do his fighting for him since. So I'm just guessing when you're that rich and you got that much of a posse, you probably don't throw a lot of punches yourself unless the guys are already holding them. So
right.
It would be a one-round fight. Dana White said it best. This would be the easiest fight in the world to promote. You got all the fighting fans. You got movie fans. Not too many of those, right? You like people who like music. Like, yeah. This would be the easiest fight in the world to promote, and we would all be doing our live reaction simulcast of it when it went down. I just don't think it's going to happen. Celebrity fights are... They had a small run in boxing for a short while. I also remember celebrity boxing on NBC. Didn't do as well as we thought it would. But they also had like China versus Joey Botafuco. So, I mean, not exactly celebrity.
Right. So the other one, I'm trying to unfold my tinfoil hat here because that's my next question.
Gotta protect the brain from those reptilians laughing at us on the other side of reality.
I'm trying. Anyway. So, next one, Dominican Republic. 13 people dead. You see a famous baseball player attempted assassination, supposedly wrong guy. Is it coincidence? That's 12-month period, 13 people dead. I haven't looked at the news in 4 days. Who knows? Maybe 4 more people died. But anyway, is it cartels taking over the country and trying to scare tourism away? Is it the media trying to distract us from something else that's probably really going on? Or is it just all a coincidence and CNN, Fox, MSNBC are all just being stupid and focus on something that's not important?
So 12 people have died in the Dominican Republic in 12 months. I guarantee that are Americans. I guarantee you, in terms of bad, horrible, violent, and suspicious ways, a lot more than 12 folks have died in the Dominican Republic in the last 12 months. So that alone, like, granted, it's 12 Americans, so that's unusual because usually, like in Costa Rica and in other countries like that, they really crack down on anybody that harasses the tourists because that's such a huge part of their income. I have heard all kinds of crazy rumors. I like, and again, this is just a rumor, so I'm not like, I've even heard people say that there's Ebola going around in the Dominican Republic now, which I don't even know how much to put stock in that. But so yes, there you go. I wish I had one to put on, but I've heard all kinds of craziness about it. It could be this, could be that. Cartels. I'm not saying they never have, but this would be one of the most flagrant targetings of tourists that they've done in a long time. It could be a lot of things. Could just be a couple of sick freaks who live in the Dominican Republic who hate Americans. You don't know. It could be anything. So, like I was saying before you had your headphones on, like, I've even heard of rumors that there's the Ebola virus going around in the Dominican Republic right now. So, needless to say, or it could just be they're highlighting these 12 deaths because Americans die on these international trips all the time, and folks are trying to put pressure on the Dominican Republic. I mean, I guarantee you go to countries like Mexico, any South American, Central American country, go to any East Asian country, any of the, Pacific Islander Asian countries, you're probably going to see maybe not similar, but at least comparable numbers of Americans abroad deaths. So I wonder why these 12 are being so concentrated on, because as you said, it's over a 12-month period. It could be any number of things, and we just don't know. Like I said, don't chalk up to malevolence what incompetence or, just one sick freak out there could be the explanation.
And plenty of sick freaks out there. And I got my tinfoil hat back on, folks.
Oh,
I got
you're
it
safe.
stretched back out.
You're
I'm
safe.
safe from the reptile people. Thank God. Thank God.
For now, anyways. For now.
For now, for sure.
So, hit me with another, sir.
So, with my hat on, you tell me, what is your favorite conspiracy theory that you might believe is halfway real? It could be current, past. Tony doesn't do these, so I have to entertain somebody who will say something about a conspiracy theory.
That's halfway real.
Could be, could not be. You don't know, but it's something you would entertain.
Sheesh. That's tough. Like, because, the first one that always comes to mind is, maybe there is some great ape out there that died many, many millennia ago, and that's where we get our Bigfoot legends. I've always been a believer that human beings and Neanderthals did not get along as well as we were told in the history books. This is my personal conspiracy. And we get the Bigfoot legend from the fact that Neanderthals were generally about a foot taller than us historically, and they would hunt during the night. So that old thing of beware what goes bump in the night. There was a point in human history where there was a predator after us that went bump in the night and would eat us, because they did find that the Neanderthal ate over 99% meat according to its bone structure. So to me, I think Bigfoot has a deep psychological imprint on our brain from a previous point in human history that isn't necessarily necessary anymore because we wiped out the competition, for lack of better terms. So that's my one I don't even know if that's a conspiracy theory so much as that's like a cryptozoology type thing that I believe.
So you're right, it is a cryptozoology thing. So that it was a gigantic Hipithecus is actually what it was called, and it was what we imagine as modern day Sasquatch would be, is a giant man / half ape that's just humongous, which died off, I believe, is like 15 or 30,000 years ago. I know that's a huge range, 15 to 30,000. That's, it's just a few years apart.
Still within the spectrum of human experience.
Right, right. So may have lived in and had experiences with humans back in the day, but stood, of course, everything's metric. So 3 meters tall. I don't have that in my head.
That's a little over 9 feet.
And then 500 kilograms.
Yeah, we're American. We think in terms of feet, inches, and pounds. Come on.
We're stupid.
No, the rest of the world is stupid. But that's one thing. Tony and I kind of have a disagreement on that, and also one of my brothers really disagrees with me on that particular theory. I don't think it was Gigantopithecus. I think it was Neanderthal. I think
interesting.
Well, if you look at the fossil records, they were about a foot taller than the average human being at the time, and we have no soft tissue samples of Neanderthal, so we always anthropomorphize them as very human-like. We give them, human eyes with, basic skin. We give them a human nose. There is no evidence to suggest any of this. They could have had a flat nose like gorillas. They could have had very hairy skin, and that's where, in my opinion, we get from a deep psychological point in our brain during our species development. Don't watch out for these big hairy monsters and things that go bump in the night, because there is a very deep, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an instinctual level of when you're out in the woods in the middle of the night, there's just an instinctual unease. So in my opinion, I think this is where, because to me, in my opinion, like everything has a psychological reason that it exists in our fiction. Whatever fictional creature you're talking about, dig deep enough, it has a psychological connection. It's why it's lasted as long as it has. Bigfoot, I think, is one of those that has a interesting connection with our very, very distant past. There is no giant ape that walks the earth today, in my opinion. I've seen no evidence for it. We would have a corpse. We would have something by now.
So you don't think Bigfoot is alive, but you think
No.
it was something that was around. Like, how far back do you think it was around?
Oh gosh, there's a book. The author's Dan. I think it's like Born a Genie or something. The book's called Them and Us, and he's not as well respected in the anthropology world. I should just point that out. He is a controversial figure in the world of anthropology, and his theory is not as well received as I personally give it. But I think he puts it back to about like 50 to 90,000 years ago. There was a great conflict, and even within human DNA, we still have Neanderthal DNA within us. So there was some level of interbreeding, and he believes that was more of a conflict than it was mutual exchange. So, and it does make sense that our gestation periods for babies is about 9 months. Theirs was anywhere from 10 to 12 months. So we were just able to outpace and outbreed them.
Yeah, we were just baby making factories with each other.
Well, that ain't changed much. There's several billion of us now. We win, Neanderthal. So that's, if you want to get down into the one weird theory that I think has some credence, but not the kind of, like, I don't think there is some great, like, out in the woods of Oregon, you're going to come across Sasquatch. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think there was a time in our human evolution and in our development as a species, that was a very real concern.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Ha! There you go, KOE Nation. There's some homework.
There you go. Look some stuff up. Get smarter. Look harder.
Whoa. So yeah, I'll send you a video about that sometime. Let you get into it. But really, chicken. What else would you like to touch on this evening?
What do you got? What do you want to talk about? We can wrap this up with what's KOE got to say to the, not only the chicken or the KOE Nation, but what do you want to put out there? You plugged your show a couple times, but what are some things that you want to talk about and you want to bring up? We got a few minutes here. We can wrap this bitch up and end it on a high note or a low note. I don't really care which type, honestly. Tear it up, buddy. It's yours. Let me know what you want to talk about.
Just peace and love and understanding. No.
All right, we're cutting this off.
Well, sir, I mean, I think we've touched on quite a bit of it. Like, how deep do you want to go? Like, well, all right, chicken, here is my unifying theory of everything. Like, no, we won't go that deep tonight. But
another time, sir, another time.
I will say that this is an interesting format for us to be trying, sir. Like I said, I'm from the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast. You're King of Extreme, Phil KOE. Check us out. I'm just curious, where do you see the next few episodes going? What can the audience look forward to in the weeks to come from the Dog and Chicken Show with hopefully some more Extreme Editions?
You know, I've enjoyed the Extreme Edition, and I welcome Phil back anytime, obviously. This has been fun. So what to look forward to, folks? This is, we're on episode 6, and we're still trying to figure out our groove, get our style, and figure out how this should look. And at the same time, trying to build viewers, subscribers, and hear what you want us to talk about instead of us just blabbing away about random topics and random news articles and random thoughts. The one thing, though, that is coming up, we need to go back and revisit is that was probably the most viewed and most replied to and probably the most activity that I've seen on any of our episodes when I look into our YouTube insights was the paying college athletes episode. We definitely have to go revisit that, and we need to dive in deeper on that one, as we are still getting hits on that video, and that's obviously a hot topic, and it keeps coming up in the news.
I'll be more than happy to give you my take on that video if you like. And my quick take is I agree with some of Tony's position and some of your position. I know. Staking it out hard.
How dare you agree with me, sir?
I know. I'm so sorry. I know you got a reputation to uphold. So I do believe that to an extent, yes, the education that they're receiving is compensation. But I think where I draw the line is video game likeness rights. When your likeness is being sold on a video game, at that point, I think the players are entitled to compensation.
Yeah, that is literally a constitutional right. It is me. You were selling me to consumers. Like, you're selling me to consumers. Why am I not seeing profit?
I personally don't even have a problem with if they sign an autograph for money.
Yeah, who does that hurt? That hurts nobody. Nobody dies.
I'm more in the world of in terms of sports, my interests are mixed martial arts, wrestling, judo type. Like when I watch the Olympics, the only things I'm watching are judo, not wrestling anymore, taekwondo, and all boxing, even though all the judges are ridiculously bribed in Olympic boxing. It's not even close.
Yeah, terrible judges.
There was a guy from India who he got knocked down twice in a round and he still won the fight. So yeah, like the judges but it's single combat sports. That's my personal area of interest and expertise. And to me, I don't understand why, this kid signed an autograph and he made $50 on it. Let's bring the power of the NCAA down on him. Like, I don't get it at all. But yeah. Like the collegiate athletic system doesn't put out a lot of combat fighters other than the wrestling system. So I'm not as versed in how all that works, I will be honest.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and the way you described it is pretty much how it works, is bring the hammer down on these kids who are just trying to make a buck and make a future for themselves, but oh my gosh, they signed an autograph, or oh my gosh, they sold a jersey, or oh my gosh, they had a pair of socks they wore in a game and sold them for $20. Real thing. That happened, folks. And
Ew.
NCAA, no, we didn't see those profits. That's my money. It's mine.
I mean, that's what my next question was, because again, what is the goal of this? Why is a kid being sanctioned so hard for a $20 autograph?
Well, how dare you rob the NCAA of their right to make money off of you?
I'm sorry, silly me. How did I not know that? So yeah, that. Now, granted, it's one of those, they signed up for it, don't follow club rules, don't expect club privileges, but we all know why they're there. They're there to get in the NFL or the NBA or whatever. They're not there to learn. They are there to be the feeder system to the professionals. Oh, dear. So
what was that?
Oh, one of Tony's Guitar Hero things fell off. I was emoting too much. I was giving too much of myself to the KOE Nation. So yeah, I mean, I think college athletes should get at least something. I don't think they should be like, I don't know if they should be making wages that are comparable to like pro players, obviously, but there should be something there. Like I said, even if it's nothing else but likeness and video game rights, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good first step that we need to look for.
The status quo is unacceptable. Am I off on that?
No, you're not. I think that's the first step that needs to be made is the video game licensing agreements and being able to make their own money off their own likeness, whether that be through autographs, jerseys, and merch. I think that's a great first step, because then it's not a fairness issue at that point. It's, hey, I'm the most popular player in this division or country or state or whatever. You can make a name for yourself, whether that's not only through how well you play, but you can do it through your community. It doesn't have to be your play on the field or what you do through the NCAA. You can see players get popular because of their contributions back to local hospitals or charities or whatever, and people will buy their jerseys because of what they do in the community. So you can make your money back and become not only a staple in the community, but a staple across the country, and be rewarded for it. So I don't see why they're punished for it. It makes no sense to me.
I would agree with you, sir. Also, gosh, when it comes to these kinds of issues, I mean, it's so hard to define, because I mean, the NCAA, as much as they are kind of the heel. Everybody hates them. Like, is there any bigger heel in sports than the NCAA?
Vince McMahon.
It's not sports entertainment.
Okay, Donald Trump.
Not in political sports.
Come on, it's all the same shit.
Yes, that's political sports entertainment. Like I said, he runs the best wrestling show in the country right now. So, but all that being said, folks, I'm going to hand it off to my indomitable broadcast partner, Chicken, if there's any last things he wants to do in the wrap-up.
No, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. This has been a little bit of a long one, but I like how Phil put it. This is the Extreme Edition. We'll have more of these to come. We'll have Phil jump on. I'd love to see more guests, more other folks jumping on here. Like, share, subscribe, comment, get in touch with me if you are a flat earth believer and you want to have a chat about this, or if you would like to be on a future episode someday. As I know there's going to be times where, like tonight, Tony was unable to jump on and stay on, so Phil was humble enough to jump in. I know there's going to be times where I'm not going to be able to make it on, but you know what? The only way you grow a podcast is consistency, and you got to be on here week after week, and you cannot disappoint. So if you'd ever like to fill in for myself or Tony someday and have great things to say, or even would jump on with both of us, more than welcome. Reach out to us. Like I said, like, share, subscribe. Thanks, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Phil, any last words?
This has been the Extreme Edition of the Dog and Chicken Show. I am the main star of the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, signing off and handing it off to the host of the Dog and Chicken Show. Chicken, it's all you.
And the former champion, is that right? Did you just lose it? You just lost it, didn't you?
Actually, Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, 3-time former champion, folks.
3-time former champion.
Yes. Oh, and I'm coming back for it. I'm going to make it 4 real soon. So, all that being being said.
Awesome. Hey, Phil, thanks a lot for jumping on here and helping me fill some time. Great conversation, by the way. Loved it. Let's do it again. And
Anytime, man.
thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you all next week. Bye.